a lot of things happening today. Now that we have the basement underground plumbing done and inspected and passed, we're going to be ready to start moving on to assembling the basement slab. Behind me, you'll notice a big stack of insulation. There's EPS, there's XPS. You also notice some welded wire steel mesh 6x6 grid pattern. Let's see how the basement slab is put together. So the first thing you want to do is level out the entire basement. All this crushed rock should be nice and flat. After that, you want to lay poly across the entire basement, but make sure to lap it up the walls about a foot. And you want to terminate at the walls with a bead of acoustical sealant so the poly stays nice and fixed to the wall. Once you got the poly laid on the flat surface, you want to put the styrofoam insulation. Okay? You want to make sure that all the joints are nice and taped. Once that's accomplished, you want to lay down the welded wire steel mesh. Now, the purpose of the welded wire steel mesh is so you have something to attach the radiant floor heating tubes into. You can imagine the radiant floor heating will run in this kind of a pattern, zigzag pattern, and it's a fixed steel mesh with zap straps. And that ties it all down and holds it together before the concrete gets placed over top. Now, the part two of preparing the basement involves having insulation placed along the outside walls of the foundation. You might recall from a few videos ago, we had grinded down all the unevenness of the walls where the concrete sticks out. And the reason for that is now we have a nice flat surface to put our interlocking insulation pieces together. These pieces are meant to be installed flat against the wall. All the joints interlocked together and taped, providing a nice tight contact with the outside wall. Now you want to make sure that all the inside faces of the foundation wall are covered with this insulation. When preparing for your basement slab, there's a couple of things you got to take into consideration. One, radon gas and air infiltration. Let me show you an example. The key to preventing radon gas and air infiltration to the basement is by simply having a continuous membrane at the slab level. However, oftentimes you will need to have a sump buried into the slab and or check valve boxes. For example, here, we have a check valve box that's going to be planted into the ground where concrete's going to be poured flush with it. You have to ensure that the membrane is continuous with the floor. Now, how do you do that? Well, when this item is put into the ground before the poly, make sure they're put inside what they call a bladder. The bladder can be integrated with the floor membrane, thereby allowing a complete continuous barrier around and under this check valve bob assembly. Radiant heating will also be installed on these two floors, but we'll get into that when the plumbers are ready to run them. In the meantime, there's other things that we can do as the build progresses. Check out the stairs. This is all the formwork for concrete stairs coming up. We have the downstairs concrete. We've got the front entry stairs, which are underway. We have a set of stairs in the back as well. But look, we've started digging for the Laneway house. And soon enough, we're gonna have a formwork ready for the foundation to be poured as well. So we have the basement slab, the 2 floors of radiant floor heating, we have 3 sets of stairs, and upcoming, we're gonna have a formwork for the foundation for the Laneway house. This is a perfect time to talk about being efficient with pouring concrete. Now, pouring concrete involves calling a placer, a pump, and a concrete supply. Now, can you imagine if we were to pour that in segments, you'd be incurring minimum charges for every one of those trays. But the best way to pour it would be pouring everything at once. However, Vancouver just came out of a citywide concrete strike. It's very, very difficult now to book concrete. There's a massive shortage, delays, and it's not even predictable when we can even get it. So let's cross our fingers that we can get enough concrete to pour everything all at once and save on our placing, pouring, and small chip charges. Right now, you should all be pros at building houses, at least up to this stage. Well, let's start again. Let's start with building a Laneway house. So you can see the excavation's been done. We're ready for the erosion control. The surveyors will come in, pin out their locations, formwork goes up, ready for concrete.